Hi everyone! Welcome to your lesson on microbiology. Micro meaning small, bio meaning life. We're talking about small life. So microbiology explores very microscopic organisms, and that includes things like viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungus, different kinds of algae. Each of these types of organisms lack tissue differentiation, which means they don't have different kinds of tissue like humans. They are unicellular, so they're made up of one type of cell, and exhibit diversity in both form and size. So I'm going to go through 4 different types. The first type of microbe that I'm going to go talk about are viruses. Viruses are not living. That's the most important thing to understand about them. They are not living, and in order to survive, they need a host cell to reproduce. So they're non-living particles that are made up of nucleic acid, so that is either DNA or RNA, and a coat of protein. And then the way that they survive is they live. There's a video, the link to this video on the flu, how a virus invades your body. It's a really awesome short video clip about how the flu, which is a virus, invades your body and what happens when a virus clips into a host cell in your body and how that multiplies, makes you sick. So viruses invade healthy cells and then use the enzymes and the organelles of the host cell. So you guys in the 7th grade cycle learned about the different organelles of the cell. So the viruses feed off of those organelles of the host cell to make more viruses. And when they do that, they kill your healthy cells in the process, and that's what actually makes you sick. Viral diseases, which are diseases that are caused by a virus, are among the most widespread illnesses in humans. And these can range from mild fevers to some forms of cancer even, and other diseases that can be fatal. Viruses are transmitted or passed from person to person in different ways. Some require human contact, others are transmitted or passed through water or an insect bite. One very common one that's caused through an insect bite is the West Nile virus, and that is through viruses can be prevented through vaccines, and some antiviral drugs can help prevent the spread of viral diseases. So vaccines are different types of shots that can help prevent the spread of viral diseases. Now, getting into bacteria are very, very, very different than viruses. Bacteria are prokaryotes. They are single-celled organisms. They are living. They can live in a variety of different places, and they can withstand lots of different environments. So they can be with or without oxygen for long periods of time. They can live in really hot places or really cold places. And so, unlike viruses who need a host cell to reproduce, bacteria can live just about anywhere. Bacteria reproduce through binary fission, which is a form of asexual reproduction. And if you remember from your 7th grade cycle, binary fission is exponential growth, and it produces that J-shaped curve on the graph. And so that's where it goes from, we did the bean lab. So you have 2 bacteria, then 4, then 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on. It doubles each time. And bacteria grow really, really rapidly, which makes you sick fast. There is a clip, a binary fission video clip to show you and remind you how fast bacteria divides and grows, which is why strep throat, which is a bacterial infection, which is why if you don't treat strep throat really fast, you feel sick and you feel really bad. You feel worse over time really fast. And it's because you have to stop the bacteria from dividing. And once you do that, you start to feel. This graph is a visual for you to remind you of how fast bacteria grows. So the number of cell divisions is on the bottom on the x-axis, and number of cells is on the y-axis on the left side. So you notice that with each cell division, the bacteria are doubling each time, and it happens really, really fast. To treat bacteria, you use antibiotics. Remember, anti and then bio. So anti-life. Antibiotic are used to stop the growth of bacteria. And because antibiotics have been overused, many diseases that were once really easy to treat are becoming more difficult to treat. And that's called antibiotic resistance. So antibiotic resistance in bacteria occurs when you have mutant bacteria that survive treatment and give rise to a resistant population. So these bacteria have evolved to not be, they are not affected by the antibiotic, and they survive it. And then those bacteria reproduce and make more bacteria that don't get affected by the antibiotic. And so that makes a whole bunch of bacteria that don't care about antibiotics, and they can live regardless of the person taking medicine. And here's a really good diagram to show you that. You have a normal up on the top, and then you have a mutant on the bottom. The normal produces an enzyme, the mutant does not produce an enzyme. When you have the normal with the enzyme production, and the human takes an antibiotic, the antibiotic kills the enzyme. When you have the mutant, there is no enzyme produced. And so when the antibiotic is taken by the human, because the mutant bacteria does not produce enzyme, there's nothing for the antibiotic to kill. So the mutant bacteria survives. And then it survives. Not only does it survive, but it continues to reproduce and produce offspring that resists antibiotics used to treat it. All right, the third microbe that we're going to talk about are fungi or fungus, different types of fungus. So fungi are eukaryotes. They do have a nucleus, unlike bacteria who are prokaryotes and don't have a nucleus. They are eukaryotic. They are non-photosynthetic organisms, so they do not undergo photosynthesis. And most are multicellular heterotrophs. Heterotrophs meaning they do not make their own food. Most can reproduce both sexually and asexually, which is kind of crazy. They produce spores, and that gives it an advantage. So in certain environments, they can reproduce on their own if things get really tough. Or if they're in really good environments, they can reproduce using other types of fungi, have to depend on themselves. They can reproduce in different types of ways. It makes them able to withstand lots of different environments. Again, when the environment is favorable, rapid asexual reproduction ensures an increased spread of the species. During environmental stress, sexual reproduction causes genetic recombination. That means the genes of different types of fungus come together and combine, which increases the likelihood that offspring will be better adapted to the new conditions. I like to use a wet, steamy bathroom as an example for this. Wet, steamy bathrooms are prime conditions for fungus reproducing on their own through asexual reproduction. So they're going to make lots of mold in a wet, steamy bathroom without much work. However, if you have a bathroom that's not hot and steamy, it's going to be hard to reproduce, for fungus to reproduce on their own. So they might have to depend on other types of fungus. Fungus is not super good for humans because it can attack tissues of plants and animals and can cause certain diseases. A major concern for humans is because fungus not only can attack us, but also our food, and making fungi actually a competitor with humans for nutrients. So this diagram is showing you some citrus in a fruit bowl and different types of fruit that have been attacked by fungus. So the fungus is actually competing for food with humans. It's not a huge problem for us, but if our temperature changed and global warming happened and really extreme temperatures, we would have a lot more fungus on our food, and we would have higher levels of competition with fungus. So another thing with fungus is mold spores can cause mild to severe allergies in some people. And billions of mold spores can become airborne and then are inhaled, triggering a reaction, which is not good for your lungs. The last type of microbe are parasites. Parasites are organisms that feed on another individual known as the host. They either live on or in the host's body. So these are a little different than viruses. Viruses live on the host cell. These live either in or on the host's body. For parasites, natural selection favors adaptations that allow the parasite to exploit its host. So it's going to come in and take over its host, either anatomically. And examples of that are tapeworms. Tapeworms are so specialized for a parasitic lifestyle that they don't even have a digestive system. They live in the small intestine of their host, and they don't need a digestive system because they absorb nutrients directly through their skin. So they don't need a digestive system because they don't need to digest anything. The nutrients go right through their skin, and they get the nutrients that they need by living in or on that host, which makes it really easy for them to survive. This diagram is awesome. It looks like a nice pot of spaghetti, but it's not. It's tapeworms attached to the stomach wall of an animal, and the tapeworms have just totally taken over that stomach wall, and they don't have a digestive system. They're just sucking in nutrients from the stomach and taking away nutrients. Infectious disease may also be caused by animal parasites, which may take up residence in the intestine, bloodstream, or tissues. Ew! Tapeworms are common in dogs and cats. Tapeworms come from fleas, and they can pass on to humans and look like cucumber-like seeds in your poop. Gross! There are lots of remedies that exist to kill worms if you do become infected. So even though I was just laughing, tapeworms are not funny in humans. Tapeworms can become a real problem, especially in non-developed or underdeveloped countries, less developed countries than we live in for sure. And tapeworms, you might not know about them for a while, and then they become such a problem that they can actually come out of your nose and mouth when they become a really big problem, and they can cause death. That's the top left picture. The bottom right picture is tapeworms in a pile of dog poop. Gross! So one way that you know that your dog has tapeworms is to look at their poop. And if they do, it's really a problem, and you have to get medicine, and your dog can heal from them. But it's important to know if your dog has them, because if not, then the tapeworms will end up taking all the nutrients from your dog and can eventually kill your pet. So, parasites. We just went over 4 different types, and some types are prokaryotes, some types are eukaryotes. And I hope you enjoyed your lesson. Have a great day.